There are a ton of luxury sports sedan options out there.
Tons.
And very few of them come with that perfect combination of V6 engine and all-wheel drive.
That's your cheeseburger, fries, and shake right there, combo number one. And wouldn't it be great if it was around 50 grand?
For that kind of money, you can get the brand new Acura TLX, which has been revised for 2018 with a brand new A-Spec trim, which is sporty and cool.
But isn't that just a glorified Honda Accord?
What?
Why wouldn't you buy something like this Lexus IS 350?
Because that thing is ancient and it's completely impractical as a sedan.
Well, are we just gonna stand here and argue about cars, or are we actually gonna drive them?
Yeah, let's get in the cars because I'm freezing.
Me too.
Now that we're on the road, I can talk about some of the features in this car, and I want to start with the seats, which are not as bolstered or supportive as they are in the Lexus, but they are done up in this wonderful Alcantara, and that's pretty much the highest end trim in this car. Everything else is a little less fancy when compared to the Lexus. But you will notice in the rear seats that there's more legroom, and there's also a ton of cargo space. 14.3 cubic feet, which is almost 4 cubic feet more than what you get in the IS. Now this car features a 2-screen setup. The bottom screen focuses mainly on audio and climate control information, while the top screen features your navigation, and that's controlled with a rotary knob. And there's some other really cool features in here, like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay support, but it's really weird to use Android Auto with this rotary knob. It definitely takes some getting used to. This car also has a ton of luxury features. There's heated and vented seats up front, I've got a heated steering wheel, dual zone automatic climate control, I've got awesome parking systems, as well as a wireless charging system for my phone. And even in the back, there's heated seats. But the real reason you get the A-Spec version of the TLX is how it drives. Now, Acura has done a lot of things to make this car feel more alive, and absolutely, they've addressed many of the criticisms that were leveled at the TLX when it first debuted. Acura has injected a lot of personality into the way this car handles. And they've done that by making the steering really tight feeling, and they've added a rear stabilizer bar in the back to make sure that this car handles fantastically. And this is a great car to drive. It's not as sporty as that Lexus IS, but it still is a lot of fun to drive. Now, a lot of that has to do with the engine under the hood. There's a 3.5-liter V6 that makes 290 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. Now, both of those numbers are less than what you find in the Lexus, but it's still a very fun and engaging car to drive. This car also features a 9-speed automatic transmission, which means that it should be a bit more fuel efficient in the real world when compared to the Lexus. But according to the EPA, this thing earns just 1 more mile per gallon more than the IS 350. This is one of the most sophisticated all-wheel drive systems in the industry, and that's because it can send up to 70% of the power to the rear wheels and can send that power to each of the left or right wheels as needed. You're going to have so much fun driving this car because of that added capability with the all-wheel drive system. That all-wheel drive system is designed to mitigate understeer, and it really does a good job of that. The car also features 2 sport modes, Sport and Sport Plus, so you're going to have fun with this thing no matter what. There's also paddle shifters so that you can change between those 9 gears on your own. If there's any criticism I have about the drivetrain of this car, it has to be that the start-stop, the automatic start-stop, just doesn't seem to turn on or off as quickly as I want it to. Now let's talk about some of the cool driver assistance features that this car has in comparison to the Lexus. They're all much more advanced in the Acura. For example, the adaptive cruise control can bring the car to a complete stop, and the Lexus cannot do that. This car also has lane keeping assistance, which will help pull the car back into the center of the lane if you're caught unaware. Those 2 features are really important after a long day on the road. The car also has a blind spot monitoring system, which, unlike the Lexus, puts the indicator inside the car, which is useful if you see any sort of precipitation on the road. And the final piece about this car is the price, which makes it the ultimate Goldilocks. you can get a fully spec'd out A-Spec version of this car for about $45,000, which is $3,000 cheaper than what you would get the Lexus. When it comes to the Acura TLX, let me just quickly address what Alex said earlier. This isn't just some fancy Honda Accord. The TLX is a completely different animal. While the Accord is certainly high-tech and extremely refined, the TLX has a bit more of a performance edge, featuring a V6 engine that you can't find in any of Honda's cars. The new grille fits this car's design more than that weird shield beak thing from before. There's a dark chrome trim found around the grille and a slightly darker tint to the Jewel-eye headlights and LED taillights. Around back, there's a black spoiler, a crazy-looking diffuser, and nice big exhaust tips. And the A-Spec goodies continue inside the car. As you can see, there's some sportier trim bits in here, and there's red ambient lighting as well. And as a whole, you can see that this car has so much more headroom and is much more breathable and easier to live with every single day. Especially the dash design, which is so much more conservative and less wild than what you get in the other car. The only weird thing about this vehicle is that you have this push-button transmission.
The Lexus is definitely an older platform that's admittedly due for a refresh, but that doesn't mean that it's not a great sports sedan that's also winter capable. The IS350 is as refined as ever, with a comfortable cabin, relatively small footprint, and a whole bunch of power backed by a great chassis. The IS350 only gets 1 mile per gallon combined worse than the Acura, and wouldn't you rather have 21 more horsepower and 80 less pounds to carry around? Lexus calls this car the better driving experience because it just is. You get this center console here, which really gives you the feel of a cockpit, and the seats have extremely nice bolstering, which just adds to that sporty feel. Power is no problem in the IS350. It's got 311 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque from a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated engine. This car will also go from 0 to 60 in just 5.5 seconds, which is no slouch. And it delivers power to all 4 wheels by a 6-speed automatic transmission. In this day and age, that sounds kind of old school to have a 6-speed transmission when other people are having 7, 8, 9, and 10. But honestly, the transmission is a great unit. It shifts really quickly when you're in the manual mode. And don't get me wrong, it's not a race car transmission, but when you want to drop it down a couple gears in manual mode, sounds great. That V6 is awesome. The car does feel special to drive. It's a true Lexus that perfectly blends luxury and sportiness, even on one of their more affordable models. Earlier, Sammy said this car was ancient, and unfortunately, I kind of have to agree with him. It hasn't been updated since 2014, and that means it's missing out on a lot of options that new car buyers are just gonna want. It doesn't even have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. The interior looks like somebody took all the buttons that would usually be on a car, put it in their mouth, then sniffed some pepper and sneezed them everywhere. There really isn't a rhyme or reason for anything. Like the heated seat controls and the heated steering wheel controls are kind of here behind the shifter, so they're hard to access. This panel here doesn't do anything except tell you that it's a Mark Levinson sound system, which does sound good. When's the last time you saw a CD player in a car from 2018? Everybody's got an aux cord now, and this does have an aux cord, but it's in the glove box, so you have to put your phone in there if you want to listen to music. And one of the most annoying things, start-stop button is all the way up here instead of somewhere a little bit more accessible. Really strange.
Well, Alex, it looks like you had a lot of fun in that Lexus, but I'm not convinced it's a better luxury sports sedan.
Well, it's definitely sportier, but it is less practical, and since it's so old, it's getting overshadowed by the Acura in a lot of ways.
So if you're in the market for a V6 luxury sedan with all-wheel drive, I suggest this Acura TLX. It's less compromised, it's more modern, and it's easier to live with.
Sounds like that's combo number 1 to me. Speaking of combo number 1, how about you buy me lunch?
I hope it's not $50,000.